Greetings, guy. Welcome to another episode of our video series. Today I'm going to show you the causes of intrauterine fetal demise. So our discussion today is based on intrauterine fetal demise. Yeah, by definition, I will talk about the definition, I will talk about the causes, then we talk about the preventive measures that the mother can take to prevent the ones that are preventable, because it's not all the causes that are actually preventable. So the definition of intrauterine fetal demise is the death of a baby, that is the death of a fetus while in utero after 24th week of gestation. So you need to take into note the definition, that is the week. So with this now we'll go into the causes. I hope you understand. Yeah, so the causes of intrauterine fetal demise, the causes can be grouped into maternal causes, the fetal causes, and placenta condition and other conditions that can also be related to this. But for the purpose of this discussion, we are going to focus on the maternal, the fetal, and the placenta condition. Now, one of the maternal causes, one of the major causes is hemorrhage. Maternal hemorrhage can be antepartum, it can be postpartum. Sorry, I'm using medical terms here. Medical terms will still be shown here, but I will do my best to explain it to you with a layman language, to the language that you can be able to communicate or understand. So, antepartum hemorrhage, there are so many things that can cause antepartum hemorrhage. Hemorrhage is the medical term for bleeding, why antepartum is why you are still pregnant. I hope we understand. Yeah, so antepartum hemorrhage can be caused by so many factors. One of the causes or one of the factors is what we call placenta previa. Placenta previa is a situation whereby the placenta, which is supposed to be situated at the upper uterine segment, becomes partially or wholly situated at the lower uterine segment, either posteriorly or anteriorly. And because it's not situated at the upper uterine segment, there is every tendency that as the pregnancy progresses, that the placenta will tend to detach or separate from that place it's been attached. And when the separation occurs, there will be gush of blood from that, because the chorionic villi that embedded itself into the maternal, the endometrium of the uterus, once there is separation, you see blood, and that is when we talk of bleeding. And when this separation occurs, it affects the oxygen and the nutrient supply to the baby, which, when action is not taken on time, can affect the life of that baby. And the second one, in maternal, we also have a placenta abrasion, where there is partial separation of the placenta before onset of labor. Then another one is hypertension. While a woman is pregnant, she's at risk of being hypertensive, which sometimes don't even have a cause to just come up in any of the trimester. So, but we are focusing on any hypertensive condition that occurs after 24th week of pregnancy, if care and proper care is not taken, because hypertension affects the liver, it affects the brain, it affects the heart, it affects virtually everything in the body. It will now come to the fetal maternal unit. It will cause vasoconstriction in the placenta, thereby causing the villi and other cells of the placenta to be affected and thrombosed, thereby reducing the oxygen that is being circulated or being transported to the baby in utero. And when this happens now, it will affect the nutrients of the baby, because the placenta already has been affected, thereby the baby will be affected. Then there is another condition, medical condition, diabetic. There's some women, when they're pregnant, they have what we call gestational diabetes, in a case whereby there is problem with insulin production or insulin use. So when this occurs, the baby sometimes are at risk of being microsomic, that is, the baby will be big, and in such cases it also affects other variables in the life of this baby. Then another cause also that can be from maternal is what we call obstructed labor. Obstructed labor, we have obstructed labor, we have prolonged labor. One of the things that can cause obstructed labor is cephalopelvic disproportion. Cephalo in medically is referring to the head, then pelvic is the waist bone. So when there is a disproportion between the head of the baby and the waist bone of the mom, that is the pelvic bone, then we can talk of cephalopelvic disproportion. And when this occurs now, if the baby struggles for a long time, and the baby may be suffering from oxygen while struggling to come out, and if care is not taken, if the baby is not delivered, that baby is at risk of dying. And when after induction or delivery 3 CS, the baby will look, it will be called stillbirth. Then another cause is also prolonged labor, whereby labor hours prolonged more than it's supposed to be. Sometimes it affects the baby and also the mom. So when this happens now, the baby may die in utero. Then, that having said this, these are the few causes that we're going to discuss maternally. Then there are other ones that can be because of the baby. In fetal distress, that is the fetal causes when the baby has fetal distress, in case whereby the heart rate is either lower or higher than the normal range. If care is not taken and if proper care is not being administered to the mom at that time, that baby may lose its life. Then we also have congenital fetal anomalies. These are the things, anomalies as in things that the baby inherited that may not encourage proper development or that may not encourage the baby to be viable till term. These are also one of the things that can cause it. Then another thing is placenta condition. In placenta condition, initially I've talked about placenta previa. I've also talked about placenta abrasion. Then there is another one called cord prolapse. Cord prolapse occurs in cases whereby there is oligohydramnios, that is where the amniotic fluid that is housing this baby is lower than normal, or sometimes is even absent. And when it occurs, the placenta will tend to find its way from the cervix down to the vagina. And when this occurs, you bear witness with me that the nutrient supply to the baby will reduce. And when the nutrient supply to the baby will reduces, it will cause intrauterine growth retardation. And once there is intrauterine growth retardation, the baby's life is also at risk. So having discussed this few, I just hope that you get our point. So the point of this, the reason why we are discussing this is for the mother not to be blaming herself, maybe that she's the one, it's because of her mistake, or it's because she's not prayerful, it's because of what people are saying, that she's a witch or something like that. Sometimes it's being caused by something that is beyond your control. So I hope that you get the best out of this. You can use the comment section to ask your questions. For now, I'm going to stop here, and thank you for being part of this.